Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to our website, missionmatters.com, and click on Be a Guest to Apply. All right, so today I have Adam Winder on the line, and he's a president over at SeedTrust. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks for having me on today. There's something I love about your name. I just can't quite put my
I was just going to say, you get two Adams on the line. It's going to be a lot of fun here. And I'm really excited to get into your business model. I'll tell you, just to be upfront, I mean, I've done almost 4,000 interviews now. And I think SeedTrust is the first business that I brought on that is working on really solving some of the issues and some of the opportunities, I should say, around the reproductive journey and technology and what that looks like. So we'll talk about, different stakeholders in that reproductive journey, and also the business model overall and what you're doing to help your clients all along the way. And maybe just to get us started, Adam, let's get into some of the entrepreneurial journey, if you will. So tell us a little bit more about SeedTrust and really how you came up with this idea.
So, well, first of all, what SeedTrust is really a technology-enabled escrow provider and third party reproductive journeys. Basically, helping folks going through the surrogacy and egg donation process of building their family. Our journey to starting is an interesting one. So our founder, Edward Brockschmidt, is my business partner. He had this very successful accounting firm, and actually came across the industry and the need for the industry when working with one of his clients. Mm-hmm. And what he saw was was an industry that really needed potentially this segment of the industry that we manage really having the opportunity to improve it. But what he saw was not by way of missing or bad intent, but perhaps by way of just not focusing on it or really understanding the risk within the financial aspects, the opportunity to really improve it. Mm. So in short, what the industry was mainly characterized before SeedTrust came in was a lot of really small escrow providers that necessarily didn't have the financial strength and sometimes the expertise to really manage the process effectively. Some attorney providers who had conflicts of interest, putting some parties at risk. And then some people who had no business managing escrow at all or holding people's money at all, ultimately putting everybody involved at risk, the intended parents, the surrogates, the donors, and the agencies especially, and their reputation. So he said, hey, there's got to be a better way to do this. There's got to be a better solution, and set out to kind of figure that out. To do that, he knew he couldn't do it on his own. So he first reached out to a colleague of his, Roland Saloom, who's our chief operating officer and general counsel, also an attorney. Because that's an important part of what we do is managing the legal aspects of the contracts and ensuring the money is administered in accordance to that. And then I was the final piece of the puzzle. So Roland, before engaging me, Roland again had a good successful law practice. And I remember they called me and Roland said, hey, I'm going to wind down my law practice and fully focus on SeedTrust and escrow because I'm just so passionate about what this industry is and what we can do and having a bigger impact. And he explained to me that it was personal to him because he individually went through infertility. And I remember famously saying, Roland, you would be crazy to wind down your law firm that you've worked for the last 10 years to build. I have to eat those words every time we go into one of our planning meetings now. So then we had a really good CPA and a good attorney. Just to round out the bad joke, my background is banking. So I was actually in banking 10 years, serving as an advisor to clients and as a banker. Then ultimately, after getting an MBA at Georgetown, got pulled in to lead and manage strategy for a couple $1 billion division of the bank. Awesome opportunity, really meaningful work. But it didn't quite have the purpose I was looking for in life. And when we all sat down and talked about SeedTrust and the opportunity and the impact we could have leveraging our respective expertise and how we could do that as a team to really have a meaningful impact quickly, it was a no-brainer. So I ate my words when I told Roland he was crazy for winding down his law firm. I wound down my really successful career in banking, and we all now every day are fully, I guess you would say, obsessed or vested in third-party escrow and improving the industry as a whole.
You know, when I was prepping for this interview, I noticed a couple of things, and hearing you say it again, the light went off. The first time I heard your story, I was thinking to myself, wait a minute. CPA or an accountant, a banker and a lawyer get together, and I'm like, you're right, that does sound like a bad joke. But then in retrospect, I'm like, you know what? If I was in the situation, like these are some of the most trusted positions, and these are some of the most professional jobs there are out there. I mean, just in terms of professional services or financial services or however you want to slice that, I'm like, it makes perfect sense in retrospect after I dug deeper into the story. I'm like, yeah, that's why. So the level of professionalism, thinking about the client journey, thinking about the really, if we think about, obviously in this case, your escrow is a little bit different, but let's just say if we were thinking about it parallel as like escrow for a home, you would want the most professional person. That's one of your biggest investments for many people. In this case, it's money, not only one of your biggest, but I should say it's one of your most important investments, like the idea of bringing a child into the world or whatever your end of the spectrum is on this. So I just thought about it in retrospect, and I'm like, you know what? Now that I think about it, if I was going to trust some people or a company with this part of my life, I mean, who better than you three?
Yeah, well, thanks for saying that, Adam. And what we do is hard. It's complex. We take on a lot of liability and responsibility. So you need those areas of expertise. And honestly, having two business partners, they feel the same way because we talk about it a lot. Having business partners that are aligned from a philosophy and approach and what we're trying to achieve, focused on different parts of the business and running it hyper professionally as an owner and being passionate about it, really enables us to do a lot more and do a lot more better. A lot of times, in my years of advising businesses, a lot of times it's hard being a business owner because you're by yourself, right? Usually it's the business owner and doesn't necessarily have other peers and other owners to help work through decisions and issues. And I'll tell you, having two business partners or three in total that are fully aligned, focused on this, and are in it for the right reasons makes a big difference.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And so let's go further into the company itself, and maybe let's go a little bit deeper into the culture and really what you're looking to accomplish here, because I think it's unique.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I guess we can start a little bit with our culture and philosophy. You know, we think that the joy of having a business is really twofold. One, you're solving a meaningful problem and helping people. And we can't think of a more meaningful problem and a more meaningful way to help people than helping people build their families that maybe wouldn't be able to otherwise. And even though we solve one component of this very complex journey, we think our component is really important, and we work really, really hard to solve that really well and execute that really well. The second part of having a business, a good business, is the opportunity to build a strong team that's aligned with that purpose and watch them and enable them to grow and share in the success as well. And we take a lot of pride in both of those areas. We like to say we take our business very seriously and the purpose of our business very seriously, not ourselves. But we work really hard to create a strong team, build a strong team culture, and not just in terms of just sheer execution of excellence, but delivering on our purpose. And we always refer back to our purpose and our purpose statements of why we exist in any situation. And, and our purpose is really to reduce the financial stress in third-party journeys, allowing everyone involved, and there is a lot of people involved, to focus on what matters, which is building families. And how we deliver on that purpose is executing our mission. And our mission is to provide escrow services that are secure, reliable, and transparent in third party. That sounds quite simple. And as we start discussing more of the business, you'll see that actually what we do is a little bit different than a title company that manages transactions for homes, because it's a 2-year process with hundreds of transactions.
Wow.
And a very complex and unique legal contract. And it's both fast-paced, technical, and highly emotional. So, our team to be successful has to be focused on purpose first, because again, what they do is hard. So hopefully that answers your question. I can certainly expand on the team a little bit.
Yeah, and I think a good way for us to approach this conversation is to maybe take a stakeholder approach. So you have a lot of moving pieces, and let's build those out. So I mean, whether it's the intended parents, the surrogates, the egg donors, you have maybe agencies that you work with. Let's take some time and maybe build those out individually, just to get a feel for the complexity of what you're doing and also how you're pulling it off, right? How you're executing day to day. Maybe let's just start with the intended parents and their journey and what that looks like in working with SeedTrust.
Yeah, absolutely. So what the intended parents come to third party through many different ways, right? But often the path to get to the decision to go through a third party journey, the point of getting up to that was emotional, stressful, and for many costly. And these intended parents are then entering into a very complex process, and expensive process with many moving parts to build their family. And it's amazing when we talk to the families, when we talk to the individuals or the couples that want to build a family, what they've gone through, and it's just so touching, and they're embarking on this process to build their family. And again, we're extremely proud to be part of their journey and making our piece easy. But ultimately, when families come into the party, they're going to use either a surrogate or a donor. As part of the process to help them build their family. But those are just a few of the components. There's attorneys, there's a clinic, sometimes multiple clinics, meaning a monitoring clinic and the IVF doctor. There's an agency often, there's escrow providers, there's attorneys, there's insurance. There's just a lot happening to go through this process. And again, it's a multi-year process, and it's a scientific process and a medical process, so there's no guarantee. So you can imagine how complex this is for an individual that really has become passionate about building their family. So when they enter into their building their third-party journey, we always recommend parents really, really partner with the best providers they can find, people they can trust and like, people that have the reputation and experience, and ultimately that they want to work with for an extended period of time to guide them through it. Because it's not a perfect science, if you will, or a perfect process. Our part for those intended parents is to make sure that the money, the underlying money that goes out to ultimately all the parties to pay for the journey, is held securely and is administered in accordance to the contract. So let's just start with how we protect the intended parents' money and why that matters. So there has been in our industry, before SeedTrust, and with others not SeedTrust, there has been cases where parents' money has been misappropriated, lost. Companies have gone out and some of the money's been missing, or more often what happens is the process of managing the money isn't clean and clear, and it just creates a lot of financial stress, right? It's a lot of money, it's a complex process, and the last thing people want to worry about after they commit to it and have worked out the financial pieces is the process. Yeah. Often when they're entering into the decision, the money part is an afterthought, or how the money is going to be managed is an afterthought. They're thinking about building their family, right? So we take a lot of pride in making that part secure. So we basically protect the money with really thoughtful processes and checks and balances to ensure the money is managed appropriately. Our company has a $40 million bond, which is the largest available and the largest in the industry. And we have zero conflicts of interest, meaning our job is to administer the money in accordance to the contract. The contract that they worked really hard to come into agreement in the surrogacy journey. That's called a GSA, Gestational Surrogacy Agreement, and that outlines all aspects of the process. But in the financial piece, it's our job to manage that. And one thing I'll just add is ensuring that the money is managed correctly is really important, and it gives peace of mind. So the parents they know that the agency is often checking the money and making sure it's correct. We're a second set of eyes, ultimately responsible to ensure it is administered in accordance to the contract and correctly, which is really important. In addition, for intended parents, we take a ton of pride in the process and removing the financial stress. Meaning that the escrow piece it is an afterthought. It should be secure. It should be easy. It should be done correctly, and they shouldn't be focused on it, right? And they shouldn't have to worry about what's my balance in my account. Did this money go out? Is this individual paid? We take that on completely, make the process extremely streamless and transparent, really giving them peace of mind. And I know it. Sometimes we get asked, like, why does this matter? Why are you guys so passionate about this? And again, it gets back to these intended parents should be focused on building their family. And there's a lot to focus on in the journey. We want to make the financial piece really easy. And and what we do is not necessarily simple, like a house transaction. House transaction's quite simple. I'm sure any title agents watching this will say, no, it's not.
Right.
We don't know how to do that. So maybe it's not simple, but we think comparatively, it's totally different. And there's also a lot of emotion involved in what we do. So for example, the contract is there, but there are gray areas in the contracts, and there can be disputes or additional things that come up. And one of the key roles we play is kind of serving as that liaison or that in between. Between the surrogate, sometimes the agency and the intended parent, to where we can just explain the contract, explain the decision they need to make, what their options are, and not have the surrogate or the donor, not often the donor, but more often the surrogate, have to have that conversation directly with the intended parents. So that being that liaison in between allows their relationship, and I know I sound like a broken record here, but their relationship to just focus on building that family and how the baby's doing, how the pregnancy is going, not the financial aspects.
And I think that's a great transition. I want to talk more about the and thank you for that, by the way. So that's a great broad overview and some things for people that are watching if they're considering going down that path to consider. Let's talk a little bit more from the egg donor or the surrogate part of the journey and how you work with them. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, happy to. So let's start with surrogates because they're very, very different. So what gestational surrogates are doing in the U.S. is they're basically carrying the baby for the family. It's not the baby's not genetically related to them, but they're the carrier of the baby. I will say what they do is absolutely amazing. Often very selfless. I mean, they put themselves through a lot of medical risk and really kind of impact their life and their lifestyle to really help a family and to grow a family or give the gift of a baby to a family, which is just an extraordinary commitment and just absolutely amazing. So what they do is astonishing and amazing, and that they are compensated, but there's no amount of compensation that can really cover the risk and the gift that they're giving to that family, the risk of taking the gift they're giving to that family. So it's really amazing what they're doing. Often surrogates are entering into it for mostly altruistic reasons. They want to give this gift to a family, and they're proud that they're able to do this. They often build a great relationship with the family they're helping, and it's absolutely amazing. So for those surrogates, again, there's a contract in place that's going to dictate lots of things, but where we focus is the financial piece. It's how much they're going to get compensated. And the process, again, is long. It's multiple years. And there's multiple components to the compensation, and also reimbursement for medical, reimbursement for travel, reimbursement in the event of bed loss. Think about bed loss, don't lose their bed, bed rest.
Yeah.
So there's lots of areas that have to be compensated for, and it's again complex. So we take a lot of pride in a few areas for the surrogates. One, making sure that the money, they also have the rights to the money, so we're making sure it's protected. Mm-hmm. We're also making sure that they're getting the money deserved for this very amazing thing they're doing for the family. Mm-hmm. And we're also making it easy and transparent. Again, we always focus on making the money part easy and transparency, because that surrogate is carrying a baby. She doesn't need to be stressed about the money, when the money's coming, any of that. So we work really hard to make the process for the surrogates and for everybody super easy. In addition, many surrogates don't realize it, but in a lot of other escrow arrangements, there's a conflict of interest, meaning that somebody holding the money has a greater allegiance to either the agency or the intended parents, which shouldn't exist. We think escrow providers and third parties should be fully independent, because disputes can come up over the money, and it's important that the escrow provider is just responsible to manage the money based on the underlying agreement, right? Not based on what one party wants of the other. And then is able to look at the agreement, make that decision, bring in the right parties when needed. But ultimately just make sure everybody's protected and there's peace of mind. So it's really important, and the money piece is easy for the surrogates.
And so let's get into the donor side of things. So that's helpful, though, especially for people out there that are maybe considering going down the path of being a surrogate and want to give that gift. And I like how you mentioned that there's a lot of altruism that goes into that. Sure, there's a monetary incentive, but for the amount of risk and the amount of potential health risks that they're taking, and the idea of what they're doing, I mean, it's not a simple thing. Let's just say it like that. So let's get into the egg donor side of things, and maybe how you work with that end of the spectrum.
Certainly, and I couldn't echo more what you said about the surrogates. I mean, it is largely, they are doing it for altruistic reasons, to give that gift of a baby. But in addition, they should make sure they're financially
absolutely
and not put at a financial loss or risk over to try to help.
Yeah.
You said it very well, Adam. So, so with egg donors, egg donors are women donating their eggs to help a family who can't create their own eggs or embryos. They're often in the industry unknown or anonymous. We usually use the word unknown. That's a trend that's starting to change, where there are more known donors, but largely anonymous. But if you think about the decision to donate, for a woman to donate her egg, it's a big decision, right? And to do that, and then also to go through the process of egg donation. Again, it's complex, it's risky, there's a procedure involved, and it's highly emotional as well. So for how we help the donors, and our role in that is, again, to make the financial piece really easy. And really secure, so they can ensure a few things. One, that they're not going to worry about the financial piece. The money is there, and it will be paid out on time and in their account with ease. In addition, we're going to make sure their identity is protected, especially when they're unknown, because a breach in identity, it could be really meaningful, both for the family and the donor. So that's really our core process there. And we think what the donors do for these families is absolutely amazing. And we're really honored to be able to help them.
So for the agency side, I know you work with a lot of agencies, and agencies are really a crucial component of the whole process. Maybe it'd be helpful for, especially for people out there that are thinking about working with agencies, maybe just to give us an overview of the landscape and kind of the importance of how this glue holds things together.
Absolutely. Well, look, the agencies are really some of the heroes in the process.
Absolutely.
We talk a lot about what we do being hard. What agencies do is extremely hard. So, and they are, as you said, they are really the glue in the process because they bring the parties together and then guide them through this very complex process. There's agencies all over the country, and internationally as well. And if anybody's thinking about picking an agency, we work with over 250 agencies, and we'll be happy to guide them and give them list of agencies based on their qualifications. But in general, what they do is unbelievable. This industry and this process wouldn't be possible without them. Yeah. And the work they do is just life changing for people. They operate and often take on a whole lot of liability and responsibility to ensure it goes well and everybody's matched with the right people and guided through the process. So they're not stressed out, and they're often working nights and weekends. And nonstop to do everything they can to make this highly emotional and complex process easier and more enjoyable for these families and for the surrogates and donors. So I'm happy to answer any other questions about the agency. But where we really come in is we make sure we take a lot of pride in making, again, the escrow management and oversight of escrow on the agency easier, more secure, removing the risk and a lot of the financial risk and liability from them, really enable them to do what they love to do, not manage money and books and monitor money and chase down money, allowing them to do what they love to do, which is help build families. And we think by way of being a really good partner on the escrow and financial side and removing that liability that can come from working with the wrong partner and the operational stress of having to chase down payments, go back and forth with stress and surrogates wondering where their money is, and concerned parents wondering what this transaction is, and having to deal with all of that and manage it very manually. We think we actually have enabled a better process and a better system and a more secure system that protects their reputation, makes them more efficient, removes legal liability from them. For example, even if the agency submits a request, it comes to my legal team. We're going to check that request, check the receipts and supporting documentation. Yeah. We're going to check that against the contract. And then if it's incorrect or needs adjustment or needs approval, we make that suggestion. And if we make a mistake or we miss something, SeedTrust is liable. Our reputation is liable. Yeah. Our insurance will cover it, not the agency. Many agencies don't realize that when they work with other escrow providers and many other escrow providers, they take on that liability and responsibility, which really puts what they do at risk in a meaningful way. And we think what they do is important. We think the world needs them, and we want to protect them so they can help more families. So, and it's often that the agencies, because they are really the hero and the guide and getting people through this complex journey, they get in any issue that comes up, they're front and center because the clients are ultimately entrusting them to guide them through the process overall. So they get in the middle of everything. We think we actually make our part safer. Not just for the end user, but also for the end user, meaning the intended parents, surrogates, and donors, but also protecting the agency to ensure they're not putting their business and their livelihoods at risk.
So I think you have a pretty unique vantage point, and you could provide a different type of insight because you partner with so many agencies. And when somebody's out there, they may be watching this and they're thinking about what kind of agency would make sense for them to work with. Well, for you, I know you decide, what kind of agency it makes sense for SeedTrust to work with, right, and to partner with their clients. So I think What kind of things should people consider in general when they're working with an agency that you find attractive and that also has caused you to, make partnerships with agencies? Like, what are some of those characteristics?
That's a great question, Adam. Yeah, so when an intended parent and surrogate are looking and donor are looking for which agency is best suited for them, there's lots of areas they should look at. There's actually an ethics organization, Society for Ethics in Surrogacy and Egg Donation, that has standards and provisions of what agencies what do they look for the agencies. I'm actually really proud to be the president of that trade organization and that ethics organization. But in general, what families should look for is reputation, really the know-how, and that they have the history of helping families and they're in the business for the right reason, and that they're going to, and then make sure really across the board with the agency and with all partners, they really bring in the best people possible to help them. So there is a huge disparity in both cost, service level, programs. They're all slightly different. It matters. So they should go through a really critical evaluation of who they're going to work best with. Geography comes into a play. The partners they work with come into play. Their reputation comes into play. But equally important, this is a very emotional, very long, and very stressful process. It can be, right? So picking the agency that they feel is going to have their best interest in heart and really work with them to get them through the process and that they're going to enjoy working with is really important. Sometimes intended parents and surrogates and donors really just go for the most cost effective agency. And that's not always the best bet. So, sometimes it is. Sometimes the cost effective agencies are the best, but they really just need to evaluate them, their history, their views, and really connect with the people to understand who they're working with.
And now I'll ask the same type of question, but maybe from a different perspective. So you addressed very well from the end user, we'll say, standpoint. There's also some people that are watching that are maybe the decision makers at agencies, and they're looking for different escrow partners. Like what typically is a good fit to work with SeedTrust from the agency side for those that are watching and are looking for more resources?
Yeah, so for us, for agencies looking for what escrow partner, they should make sure that escrow partner is going to serve their clients well. It's going to really take care of their clients. First and foremost, everything everybody in our industry does is the individual intended parents, surrogates, and donors first. But as you know, Adam, the people and the partners an agency brings in is a reflection of their company, right? And also is because they're going to interact with the clients, and particularly in escrow, they're managing the money. So we think it's a really important component. So for an agency listening, first make sure the escrow provider you're working with is qualified. For example, SeedTrust has helped build over 8,000 families, working with 250 agencies. We have a CPA, an attorney, and a recovering banker on staff. We have a team of over 40 really dedicated professionals to the art industry, really focused on helping and improving the industry and making this part of the journey super secure. The other thing that most agencies and most people in general don't think about, which I mentioned earlier, Adam, is independence. What happens sometimes in third party is there is a dispute. And if the escrow provider, for example, is the attorney for the intended parent, there's an attorney-client privilege there, which creates a conflict of interest, given that attorney that they have to represent the parent. Well, that could ultimately put the agency at risk, the surrogate at risk, financially and reputation-wise. So the agent should be independent and just really, really, really loyal to doing the right thing and the underlining and following the underlying contract. In addition, as an escrow company, the security of the funds really matter, right? And there has been cases where unqualified or unethical escrow companies get into the business, and either because they get in over their head because it's so complex, or because they're ill-intended, end up messing up, stealing the money, taking the money, losing the money. So having a qualified provider is really important that can actually manage the process, but also one that's extremely secure and bonded. So, for example, our funds, as I mentioned, are covered by a $40 million bond.
Yeah.
We're licensed by the state of California. We're licensed in Florida. We have lots of oversight, having an attorney. And we have really thoughtful checks and balances within our system. And then full transparency, making sure that money's safe. That's the worst case scenario, that the money's gone because there's no recovering if it's gone. Yeah, Adam, I'll also mention that having a good partner through the process, because third-party surrogacy journeys and egg donor journeys, they're not always black and white. There are sometimes multiple years, things come up. We're working with, it's emotional, it's personal, this is creating life, right? So having a partner they can trust. So when things don't go well, or we get into challenging situations, that escrow partner is going to be a good partner to work with them. Really, really, really matters. And again, transparent, efficient, removing the work from the agency. Because if the agency is spending their time managing a bunch of fragmented escrow providers that ultimately put a lot of the work and responsibility, and more importantly, the liability back on them. Yeah. It takes up their time. So they're basically using their time to manage escrow rather than having meaningful connecting dialogues with the families and the surrogates, or helping more families. So they should find one to make sure that the escrow company is going to do their work, do it really well, be trustworthy, and do it effectively. And then also, obviously, as in anything, that the escrow company is affordable and doesn't have a complex cost system that's going to add more confusion and stress. So affordability matters as well. But most importantly, that it's a good partner that's going to protect that's qualified, that's going to protect their clients and the clients' funds, and be there throughout the journey.
Wow, Adam. So I'll just say, like, what you're doing with the agencies, how you're partnering, and how you're doing that. I mean, it really is something special. I want to get a little bit into the technology aspect of things and the user experience overall. What makes SeedTrust kind of unique in that area?
Yeah, so SeedTrust, as we mentioned, we're a service company first, but we're a technology-enabled service company. As we discussed earlier on, what myself, Brock, and Roland realized is to do what we wanted to do and to do it effectively, we'd ultimately have to make a big investment in technology to build a custom platform to achieve it at scale effectively and at the quality level we wanted to. Yeah. So basically, years ago, we invested, we're on multiple iterations and building a ground up custom platform. And the ground up custom platform does a few things. It makes our client experience efficient, transparent, easy, right? So they're not dealing with back and forth, asking for documentation. It's all in the system in their dashboard that's custom built with exactly what they can see 24/7 anywhere in the world, right? So having that unique custom client experience and agency experience has been really helpful. It makes everything, it removes the financial stress, makes things transparent, makes us really easy to work with. In addition, operationally, having a custom built operational platform enables our team to respond faster with less errors and do the job of managing escrow more effectively and do it better, and also more efficiently. So what that means is by enabling an operational platform with a very efficient client portal, we've been able to do it more effectively, ultimately keeping our costs the same as all the competitors in the industry while enhancing the service. Meaning most other escrow providers don't take on the liability of reviewing the contract and the liability of mistakes. Nobody else has the larger bond, has the broader team and checks and balances, because we're able to afford that and keep our pricing the same as the rest of the market. A, because keeping the costs low is important to us, and B, because we have such an efficient technology. So we talk about it all the time. We're a service company first. Our company is our team, but our technology certainly gives us an advantage.
Wow, that's amazing. And so I want to dig a little bit deeper into that because I mean, it's just you wouldn't expect it. I mean, I know about your company, but in general, from some of these, let's just say you're taking practices as technology companies in other industries and applying them to what you're doing. So the client gets a client portal, number one. Number two, you have your the back end where the where you're able to do your checks and balances, whether it's checking a contract, whether it's doing something else, and you're keeping costs down. Like, I mean, this was great planning, number one, but what this leads to is just a user experience that's up to date with other services and other things that we'd expect. So, I mean, just overall, like what's been the feedback on this, either from the clients, the agencies, otherwise, because it's different.
Yeah, the feedback. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, the feedback has been exceptional. Our company took a big risk investing in this space, and it was more of a heartfelt risk that we felt that there was a need here and an area we can improve. But making a really large investment in technology was risky as a business. But we felt it was going to be meaningful, and we knew what we wanted to do. The level would totally not be achievable without the technology. So the feedback has been phenomenal. Our team internally loves the technology, loves working with the technology. It allows them to do what they love to do and make sure everything's building relationships and make sure everything is administered correctly, rather than redundant tasks and chasing things down and having the opportunity to make mistakes by double and triple keying things, right? But yeah, for the client side, imagine going through a journey that's complex. You enter into a contract, and there's hundreds of payments or over 100 payments over a couple year process. Yeah. Imagine having no transparency or visibility into that, or imagine only getting a monthly statement or not knowing where the money's at and where it's going. Our system for intended parents, full transparency. They have their ledger. They see every transaction, all supporting documents.
Wow.
They have about us, our funding instructions, funding notifications, and they also get notified anytime anything happens within their account, with all the details. So whether they want to log into the portal from their phone, computer, they're also getting the email, and it's just really easy. And again, it all boils back to giving peace of mind, making what we do easy. So they're not worried about that. They're focused on building a family. And the same exact thing for the surrogates. The surrogates have a beautiful portal with their calendar of their payments that are due to them.
Wow.
They have a schedule of that they can look at. They can submit requests. They have everything they need, and also notified. So they know exactly when they expect the money and when. They're not having to chase down the agency, chase down us. It's very transparent and clear for them. And for both intended parents and agent and surrogates, they also have a direct contact that they can reach out to, not just the system, to answer any questions. And with donors, they have direct deposit. It's really easy. It's in the system. So the feedback has been phenomenal. The market has responded very well to both the professionalism we bring as a company, the extreme focus on service and purpose, and also the technology. So we've been very lucky and very, very pleased that we've been able to have that impact.
Wow, absolutely amazing. The technology you're bringing, the user experience, I mean, from all those different angles. And like you said, like they got a lot on their mind on all for whatever side of this they're on, whether they're the donors, the surrogates, whether they're the intended parents. I mean, they have a lot of things on their mind. So to be able to log in, see a dashboard, have full transparency, supporting documents, all this. I mean, I don't know, Adam, you're making it too easy on them. What's going on over there?
Well, look, we've been very fortunate, Adam. We've been really blessed to have the opportunity to help build families and have purpose in what we do. So what we do is not work. It definitely has its days, but we know what we're doing is really helping people build families. And the people in the assisted reproductive industry and the third party industry are just amazing people. I mean, people that, from the doctors to the attorneys to the agencies, I mean, these people across the board, almost unanimously, are in this to help build families and are passionate people about helping build families. So we're fortunate to have the opportunity to help build families. We're fortunate to have the opportunity to make our part of the business easy for agencies so they can help more families and do what they love to do. And like I said, we're extremely proud, over 8,000, working on soon saying over 10,000 families, helping build over 10,000 families. It's quite amazing. And we love what we do. So.
Man, absolutely amazing story, Adam. I mean, it's been my absolute pleasure to bring this story to my audience and viewers. I mean, I think what you're doing over there is awesome, and I'm excited to see you, build those 10,000 plus families and just keep on doing what you're doing. I think it's great. So that being said, though, Adam, if somebody's watching this, whether they're and any of the different stakeholders that we were talking about, whether they're the intended parents, whether they're agencies that you partner with or potential agencies to partner with. I mean, what's the best way for people to follow up and learn more about SeedTrust?
Yeah, so our website is www.seedtrustescrow.com. You can learn there's a lot of information about us there. You can email our entire team at info@seedtrustescrow.com. or me directly as the president of the company at adam@seedtrustescrow.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. And I know today I spoke a lot about some of the risk in the process, right? And how hard the process is, and that there is complexities to it, multiple people involved. But I feel terrible if I didn't say in the end, it's worth it, right? Because there's nothing more magical than being able to build a family and have a baby, and so all the risk is worth it. And just make sure as a parent or as a surrogate or a donor, that you're just selecting the right people to get through the process the best way possible, because all around, whether you're giving the gift of helping a family, whether you're building your family, it's just very magical and very beautiful. So don't let the risk scare you away from it, but ensure you're protecting yourself and thinking of everything when you enter into the process.
Amazing and well said. So I think we'll end it there. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Definitely want you to be a return viewer, have many more great guests for you, and don't want you to miss any of that. And Adam, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Really enjoyed the conversation today.